Hey everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here to talk about my 2023 bookish stats. So, you guys know I have recently, in the past couple years, fallen in love with keeping stats. I never did. I never tracked my I would track my reading on Goodreads, but never in a spreadsheet, anything like that, until really I got on YouTube, and everybody's like, "What? You don't track your reading?" And so now I've fallen in love with it. Honestly, I track it, and I love seeing the stats, especially cumulative here at the end of the year. I think it's so interesting to see, and it's definitely been insightful. So I'm going to share with you what I learned about my reading. I'm going to give you the stats, the same stats that I do every time in my monthly wrap-ups, as well as some standouts, because, well, you'll see. We'll get to that towards the end of the video. So I'm going to do stats and standouts. So let's just get into it. Also, mind you, I do not really keep track. I keep track of this on a month-to-month basis, but I don't check in cumulatively until the end of the year and the year's over. And I wish I would have. So here's why. In 2023, I read 242 books. I wish 8 books is kind of a lot, but I wish I would have ended on a round number, either 240 or 250. I really wish I would have. And even more frustratingly, in addition to that, my kids and I read 199 books, which is just mind-boggling, but also gosh darn it, we should have read one more. But anyway, that's what happens, I guess, when you don't do stats until the end. So that's a total for my reading of 77,000 pages and 720, 213 pages per day. And by golly, that feels impressive. 200 pages a day. You'll see how big of a role audiobooks play, but let's just keep going. So 321 pages is the average length of my book, and that's interesting to me. I would have guessed it to be a little bit longer, but I guess not. And then, so I read 2/3 of a book per day. Of the books that I read, 209 were novels, 23 were graphic novels, 3 were tomes, which is anything over 500 pages, 3 were written in verse, 2 novellas, and 1 short story, and 1 chapter book. So chapter books are what I read with my kids, but I must have read 1 by myself. So that's interesting. Only 3 tomes. You guys, tomes intimidate me. Books over 500 pages are intimidating, but also, I typically don't love them, and so I'm surprised, I guess, kind of. And 3 in verse kind of surprises me. Novellas and short stories, same. Don't really love them. I will if I'm, really liking the series, but there's that. 193 were adult, 5 were new adult, 19 were YA, and 25 were middle grade. And again, these are just the books that I read for myself. Now, this is a stat that I was talking about in my goals video that I had not quite parsed out. But I read 137 books that were on my shelf that I owned a physical copy of, and 105 that I did not own a physical copy of. So that means 57% of my reading was off my shelves, and that feels awesome. My goal is 50%. So I hit 57, which is awesome. As far as the way, the way I read these books and the resources that I utilized, because even if they came off my shelf, that doesn't mean I read them 100% physically. I often will have a digital copy to accompany them if I can find it for free. So I read 153 from Libby, 26 just directly off my shelf, 25 from the library, 12 from NetGalley, 9 from Hoopla, 7 from Kindle Unlimited, 4 from Spotify, which is great because I just discovered that at the end of the year. Actually, 4 from Kindle on my Kindle library, which, yikes, that's not great. 3 from Spotify, 2 from Libro FM, and 1 from Audible. So coming up, this is not an official goal, but I would like to read more of my Libro FM books because I have a lot. I would like to read more of the books off my Kindle because I have a lot. But overall, I'm utilizing a lot of different resources, and that feels good. Audible, I don't pay for. I don't know how I read that. Maybe through Kindle Unlimited. I don't know how I read that. But anyway, so now, truth comes out. 165 of my 242 books were on audio. That means 50 were physical and 27 were ebook, which means that, let's see, 165 divided by 242, 165 divided by 242, 68% of my reading is on audio. And so that definitely tells you how I'm getting things done. I mean, honestly, not that audio is not reading. A lot of people ask, how do you read so much, especially with little kids? Audio it is. Then I read 64 new releases, and for me, new releases were anything released in 2023, and so that's 26% of my reading, which is about standard. And then as far as genres go, you guys know I'm all over the board, so this was surprising to me. My biggest genre was women's fiction. I read 52 of those. Then my next one is nonfiction. I read 42 nonfiction, 39 mystery thrillers. So my top 3, women's fiction, nonfiction, mystery thriller. I would say that's pretty accurate. Like that, I would say those 3 are my favorite genres. So I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised that nonfiction was number 2. Then I read 35 romance, 32 contemporary, 11 historical, 11 sci-fi fantasy, 10 Christian fiction, 4 magical realism, 2 nature, which is anything where like an animal is the main character, 2 cozy mysteries, and 2 poetry. So super interesting. Now, the lines of all these genres can be really blurry. What's contemporary versus romance versus women's fiction? And like a lot of these may have been Christian fiction, but they were primarily something else. So the lines are blurry, but take that for what it is. I feel it's pretty indicative of my reading. So then as far as star ratings go, I had 20 DNFs, and I will talk about that in this video because I don't want to do like a most disappointing or all the books I DNF'd. I just don't want to do that video this year. Not saying I haven't and not saying I don't watch those from other people. I just really don't want to like talk negatively about books. And if I DNF them or rated them super low, they're probably not super memorable to me. And so I feel like I won't have much to say anyway. So 20 DNFs. 15 2 stars, 10 2.5 stars, 68 3 stars, 66 3.5 stars, 67 4 stars. So right in that 3 to 4 range. 7 4.5 stars and 9 5 stars. Now you guys are probably wanting to know what are those 9 5 stars, and I'm gonna tell you that they are all either nonfiction or middle grade, and the reason why I think is I'm just such a critical, like I'm a harsh judge, you guys. I'm a stingy rater and a harsh judge of just fiction. Like I try to say 5 stars for all-time favorites. Unless it's a nonfiction, because if I learned something from it, I feel like then it's a 5 star if I enjoyed reading it. And with middle grade, it's like if I would pass this kid onto my kid, or if I as a kid could have used it, then it's a 5 star. So I don't know why I have like the leniency or the grace there to give a lot of 5 stars, and I'm definitely going to think that through going forward this year, because I'm guessing like the 7 4.5 stars are actually 5 stars. But I will be doing videos of my best books of 23. Either I haven't made my list yet, yikes. But I think I'll probably do it by genre, like my favorite women's fiction, my favorite thrillers, my favorite middle grade, my favorite nonfiction. I think I'll kind of do it by genre just because picking like one list sounds really overwhelming and like I can't do it. So stay tuned. You will know what those 4.5 and 5 stars were soon. So the overall rating was 3.45, which is just okay for me. Not the best, not the worst. It's all right. So now I'm going to go through and I'm just going to read my my DNFs so you guys kind of know. This video is really insightful for me, but it's also if you're new here or if you're kind of wondering if our tastes align, maybe this can kind of help give a little glimpse of what I'm reading. So let's see here. I'm just going to read through my list of DNFs. So we have On the Savage Side by Tiffany McDaniel. I know a lot of people loved that book, so please don't be mad. Also, these are books that didn't work for me. Standard disclaimer, if they're your favorite books, I'm sorry. I DNF these, so maybe they get better. I don't really know. But Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. Paris Daillencourt is About to Crumble by Alexis Hall. The Fridge House by Helen Fripp. Sorry Not Sorry by Sophie Ranald. Forever With You by Barb Curtis. Mama Bear Apologetics by Hilary Morgan Ferrer, which actually shocked me. Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. The People We Hate at the Wedding by Ginder. Just Look Up by Courtney Walsh. Wish Trap by Linda Chapman. Queen of High School by Greg Tessier, maybe. The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi. Invisible Inkling, Dangerous Pumpkins. That's actually one I read with the kids, but that's by Emily Jenkins. Major Pettigrew's Last Stand by Helen Simonson. The Distant Hours by Kate Morton. Mismatch by Erynn Magnum. Just Grace by Charisse Miracle Harper. Love Walked In by Marisa de los Santos. The Abeka Primary Bible Reader. This is also one I read with my kids. The Spy's Wife by Reginald Hill. And I think that's it. So that's a lot of books DNF'd. That list, I think, included a couple that I read with my kids. But that's a lot of DNFs. And I didn't look at the dates of those DNFs, but I would say a lot of them came toward the end of the year, not because I was not picking as many good things, but because I'm definitely in my DNF era where there's just too many books, too little time. So that's everything that I want to talk about, I think. Let me know. Do you keep stats? Do you not? The biggest takeaways for me are, 1, to use my Libro FM more because I have quite a few books on there. 2, I don't know. I think my genres are pretty great. I really want to be, this year, I really want to be reading more of what I want to be reading. So I hope to get that average up. But yeah, I think everything else I feel pretty satisfied with. I read 50 physical books, which my goal this year is to do at least one a month. So it seems like I did a lot more than that last year. So maybe I should have reassessed that goal. But yeah, that's great. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. So made more than 50% off my shelf. So all feels good. So let me know, do you keep stats? What are the most surprising stats I talked about today? What do you think of those DNFs? Did you read any of them and love them? I kind of don't want to know because I don't want the FOMO of I should have finished it. But I do want to know. So let me know. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.